All right. I told you guys before that I put a presentation together to my training chief, and about halfway through, he was on board for it. I said I'd share it. I think maybe last week, so I'm a little week behind. But without further ado, I'm basically going to give you guys the same presentation I gave him, and maybe you can use it to your advantage. So let me figure out how I'm doing this. This technology is beating me a little bit today. Share desktop. All right, so looks like I got it set up now so you guys can actually watch the presentation. And so this is how I started off. I started off with the chief to say, hey, and this quote you guys might have seen before. It was actually done, I can't think of his name right now. He works for St. Louis Fire, and he actually had it on Twitter. And he put it out there, and it was one of those things, I see certain quotes, and I take a screenshot of it, and I go, oh, I got to use that one day. And he basically put out, said 90% of our training is PC based. Don't be surprised when we get 10% proficiency at 100% of our fires. So that was my opening line with the chief. I just did it on my computer in front of him. I was hoping to do more of a presentation style, but something was better than nothing. So I started off with that. And then I said, having the online assignments, because it's not training. I refuse to call the online stuff training. It's assignments. It's kind of like pencil whipping the checklist of the apparatus. You're on the checklist, you're kind of saying it's there, but it's really not. That's not the point of it. The point of it is actually doing the training and being proficient. And right away, I noticed his feedback is he was kind of understanding. He's like, yeah, I agree with you. And so I was like, all right, we're off to a good start with it. So this part kind of was null and void. I said, you may disagree, but results don't lie. And that's why I like to focus on the results already. Once again, like I said, the chief was like, oh, I agree with you. I was like, I felt like it may have been a little bit easier than I thought this cell was going to be, but always look for the results in something. So I told him the purpose of the presentation, I want to shift our focus from just worrying about how many training hours we have to actually being proficient with results in our craft. We need to set a path to follow. I refer to this training manual as like a roadmap. If you want to be proficient and skilled, start here and do all these steps and you will get there. Utilize the existing ranks that we have as they were designed for, because the rank structure, is, unless you're maybe a smaller place and you don't have certain ranks, but we have firefighter, engineer, captain, battalion chief, then division chief of training, and then, a deputy chief, fire chief, and division chiefs in charge of others. But for the purpose of this, I want to use our existing ranks. We don't need to create another position. We don't need incentives for anything because it's actually already built in. And I want us to prioritize on the big domino. And I explained to him that the big domino to me is the one thing we can do. And by doing that one thing, it puts everything else, it makes everything else flow smoothly. And too many times we focus on like low-hanging fruit as opposed to just do this one thing, and that one thing will make everything else happen. And I told him we're lost without a roadmap. Right now, our training, all training is always going to be company officer based or crew led. You can give out assignments, but to be really proficient, it needs to come from the crew there because they have the most influence. So why not give them a roadmap that's actually going to produce results instead of just saying, today do pre-plan, tomorrow do ladders, not having a system. When you have a system, the process flows smoothly. So we need a roadmap to get there. Came across, someone put this on social media not too long ago. And once again, I see certain things and they make something snap inside my head. And I start thinking, wow, this is I might be able to use this to the angle I'm going. So this was done in July 18th, 1919 by the chief engineer, which I'm not too familiar, but the engineer term, how it was used, but basically he's a chief in the department there. He said in past years, the staffing of LAFD truck companies was reserved for firemen who had proven themselves through physical strength, ability, and actual firefighting experience. The assignment to a truck company was a position that was earned with the engine house and was usually considered a permanent assignment. Firefighting requires constant vigilance, hard work, a sound mind, and a diligent application of basic fundamentals. Only through hard work and dedication to duty could a fireman earn the respect required in the engine house to be assigned to a permanent position on the truck company. And here's the part that really got me. Effective immediately, all truck company officers will be held strictly accountable in applying these standards and assigning positions on LAFD truck companies. So the backstory was, actually I'll explain it here, but they're holding people accountable for performance. Makes sense, right? There's a certain level of responsibility that comes with all our ranks. And so this is going to play into when our actual training manual is done on how each rank has to play their part and take some responsibility for either their shift or their crew. So my frustration to solution story. I've been working on this officer. I was actually August, I was working on our officer development school. Everyone played their part in it, scheduling it, getting it done. I've also been working on a training manual. We do some type of hands-on training every day with my crew. And even other people on my crew take turns being the instructor. I consider my firemen proficient at their years of service and skill level. There's always room for improvement, but they're I would put them above the majority. And then I got an email from my battalion chief because my driver didn't have an online assignment done by the time frame that was given. Everything was reviewed. The guy just forgot to press submit. It even showed it all. He actually did it. It just didn't hit the submit as complete button. So that's what this was all over. And I was told that I had to give him a counseling form. And I was really frustrated because I was like, this is bullshit. But I knew that me making a bigger deal over the issue would actually make it an issue. Right now, it's a counseling form really means nothing. It's just a written basically a written statement saying that we did talk about it and you need to be better. Otherwise, it pretty much goes away. So I knew that the easiest thing to do would be just to do it and then come up with a system that this won't happen again. So my priorities aren't following up on online assignments form. It's always making sure they're skilled in it. So I was pretty frustrated, but I figured, okay, what have I learned? Anytime I hit a roadblock, the only way to make it better is to learn a lesson from it. And obviously something needs to happen because you have that frustration. Otherwise, you're just going to keep repeating it. So I wanted to focus on a big domino, and that's coming up with this training manual. And let's just get away from hours and all those online assignments. Let's focus on getting results with proficiency and some type of plan. So my big domino for me is when you make a change to one behavior, it will activate a chain reaction and cause a shift in related behaviors as well. So focus on one big item and it puts everything into place. And what I've seen is guys that are proficient and skilled and trained regularly are happy, have high morale. There's less issues, less bitching. So what I learned at an event a few months, probably 6 months ago now, is where focus goes, energy flows. So if we are focusing on the wrong things on the checklist, pencil whipping the checklist, training hours, because everyone can get 20 hours a month, but some guys are actually pulling hose, throwing ladders, doing drills with their SCBA, and others are on a computer clicking on a mouse. Are those equal? If you're measuring hours, they're equal. If you're measuring proficiency, they are not. So where's our focus goes, our energy flows. If you're constantly focusing on the negative stuff going on in your station, in your life, that's where your energy goes. Or you can choose to focus on some positive things going on, and that's where your energy is going to flow. It's very interesting. And, Tony Robbins, he actually went into more depth with it. But it's really, you go around it and you find a house where there's a lot of positivity, and that's where their energy goes. And then you can go to a house where they're sitting around bitching all the time, not doing a lot. And guess what? That's their energy is going towards that. And you can feel it. And sometimes when my guys travel, they come back and they talk about that. So I told them, this is what we're going to cover. We're going to cover step 1 in this whole thing is going to be the training manual. Step 2 is going to be the skill sheets. Step 3 is going to be the captain accountability. Step 4 is going to be the battalion chief accountability. And step 5 is going to be the division chief accountability. So this is going to be a multi-layer system. Basically, the base of it is going to be the actual training manual. Without it, we really can't build this system. So that's the baseline. Get the training manual done. Then on that's going to be the skill sheets. The skill sheets are going to have the little benchmarks to say, hey, if you hit these benchmarks, you're proficient. If you didn't hit them, then you're not proficient, and keep doing it until you are proficient. Then it comes in the captain. There's a captain in every station. We even have a floating officer. So, but basically the captain should be held accountable for his crew's proficiency. And if someone's not, then you keep helping with them. If you get someone cannot do these basic functions, then there's a system for that too, that my department already has. But guess what? You'll be able to do them. It's just the point of getting out there and doing it, because yeah, you can pull hose once a year, but you're going to deploy that hose like you pull it once a year. All right. The more you do this stuff, the better you're going to be, and you're going to start shaving more seconds off. And, I had a talk with a good buddy of mine, and he said that, all pretty much firefighters, they signed up this job to do firefighter things. So get out there and do those things, and it's going to help them with morale and just feeling like they have a purpose, as opposed to just waiting for maybe some low priority calls to come in and going through the motions. We need to be challenged to keep moving. So not only is the captain crucial in this, but then the battalion chief, because they've got the shifts. And they should be regularly making sure that the captains are proficient, because if a captain's proficient, then he can make sure his crew is. And then ultimately division chief. Division chief is can be head of this, and they play a part too. Can't be everybody hands off. Everyone's got a part to play, and we already have these positions in place. So the training manual. The training manual is going to set the standards for the skills. It's going to break down all the equipment that's on the trucks, proper method. I'll give you guys some examples of it. It's going to have how to start a flared saw, how to change a chainsaw blade, how our hose should be loaded. I'm trying to think offhand, specifics about our air packs, the kind of batteries, how you should test it, what you should do. Instead of going to reference all the manuals that come with it, individual equipment, typically when you order it, it comes with a manual, user manual. It's all going to be in one document, and guys can just reference that. And, it could even go as far as, the expectations that are in here, whatever, but the training manual is going to have all the skills broken down. And right now I'm on like page 80. A buddy of mine, he's got something similar, and he's on page like 200. So it's going to be as big or as small as you want, but the training manual is going to set those skills. So next comes in these skill sheets. The skill sheets are important because they're actually going to be the items actually being assigned to the company officer every month, and for the company officer to sign his crew off to say they're proficient. They met these benchmarks, yes or no. Either met them or they didn't, but you need to have a plan. You can't just give a guy a training manual, hey, make sure you're good with this, because it's very overwhelming. It's a complicated process because there's so many steps. So this more simple we can keep something, the more likely it's going to happen. So with these skill sheets, they're going to define the steps that are necessary to be proficient. And like I said, it's either go or no go. You either did it or you didn't. And if you didn't, let's work with you and get you to where you can. Because if you pass the fire academy, you'll be able to get all these skills done. It's not trying to trick you up or anything like that. It's just creating a system that you're going to touch the equipment regularly. And by assigning them out, guys have a plan. Hey, we have to do this one skill sheet this month. We have to do 3, 5, whatever it is that comes up with. This is this month's assignment. Get it done. And I have 2 drivers assigned to me and 4 firefighters. So they're not there. They're not all there every shift. So it will take a few shifts just to get everybody through the skill sheets, but it's a plan. Get this done. Here's your training plan for the month. Make sure they're good. So that's the importance of the skill sheets with it. So the captain accountability for it. The company officer, we don't have lieutenants. So when I say captain, it's a first line supervisor. They're the most influential person in the station, and they're there. They're the training officer. If you're a company officer, everyone can be a training officer within a crew, but the captain ultimately is. You're responsible for your crew's ability to perform well. I don't ever want to look like a ding dong on scene. So guess what? We train. You come to my station and you're not normally assigned there, you go on the rescue truck, because I want my guys on the engine, because I know the last time they threw a ladder, I knew the last time they put it in pump, I knew the last time they floated a line, I knew the last time that we did a search. I have no idea the last time that person from our station did. And if they're on there, then we're going to be drilling most of the day, making sure they can do the basics with it. So the captain accountability is going to be crucial with it. So the captain, they're going to be assigned a skill sheet for the crew, and also we get an early drill plan, because that's this all leads up to a bigger picture. Skill sheets, the battalion comes in and he does a little drill with the captain, but then the division chief needs to have a quarterly drill plan. Basically, everyone in the department must do this quarterly drill. It might take 2 months to do, but everyone's going to do it. So you break down that quarterly drill into individual skills based on the skill sheets. But you need to give the company officer that bigger picture. Hey, this is what you're going to be quizzed on at the end, basically. When I say quiz, it's not a hand quiz. It's basically you got to perform to this. So there's no surprises, because when people don't know what to expect, and they start assuming, and will assume the worst. So they'll tell them, hey, let's say it's January. Here's your 3 skill sheets. And in March, you're going to be drilled. The scenario is going to be a 2-story house fire on the 2nd floor, hydrants 300 feet away. You're first on scene. Reported victims, unknown location. That could be the drill. And, obviously they have to get the training center or an acquired structure, whatever, and set that up. But you tell people what they're going to be put through. So they know definitely, okay, let's do these skills, but this is what we want to build up to. So maybe even the captain could be drilling also. Captain's job is to train and drill. You get to train, make sure they're good, but then you drill to put it all together and add that stress to it. So I told them right now we use Target Solutions to deliver like training assignments, and it's good for tracking. And I try to tell them, I said, hey, make it so that only the station captain can record the training. Because right now you send something out, a guy can just click a couple buttons and hit submit. And it depends how you set it up. It could record it as training or not. But if we can make it to just the captain can record the training, then the assignment stays on that person's to-do list until it's recorded, and they've been proficient with it. So it's a visual reminder. And you need to have those visual reminders of what your to-do items are to keep people on track with it, because it's really easy to get distracted. So when they record it, it removes it from their assignment. If they're not proficient, because people say, oh, well, if they're not proficient, well, then you keep doing the skill until they are proficient, because they just need repetitive, and you have to keep doing the drill. People will become proficient. These are basic firefighter skills. And if for some odd reason, someone is unable, because there's 3 reasons why someone doesn't meet your expectations: unwilling, unable, or unaware. Well, if you're sitting there drilling them, they're aware of what you're doing. If they're refusing, that's unwilling, that's insubordination. That's a whole nother story. But if they're unable and are still not proficient with it, that's a bigger issue you have. Now you have someone on your rig who is unable to do their job. And then you need to refer to your chain of command to go with that. So that's, basically I came up with that as the caveat to when, because there's always a what if guy. Well, what if they're not good? Well, then you use the system we have in place. But really, if you're doing your job right, they should be fine. So the next step is going to be where the battalion chief accountability comes in. I told them, right now I told you we have 6 stations, so we have 6 station captains, but we also have a floating officer. So we actually have 7 per shift. And I said, have the battalion chief assign a drill. It could be either the skill or actual drill, but the captain has to be present, because you don't drill my crew and I'm not there, because then I don't know if they need improvement, if they met my expectations with it, whatever. And, the whole point is if the company officer is proficient, then the crew should be. So that's where the battalion chief comes in. And with the way our stations are, and, some of the things that all the little special projects we got going on, that really for our battalion chief, I've seen, they could easily get it done in a 2-month time frame. 1 month is kind of pushing it, because they get a lot of other administrative duties put on them. And the whole goal is to make something happen. So don't make something so complex they can't get it done. So over 2-month time, basically now the battalion chief has to sign off the captains or crew. We haven't defined this exactly yet, but I was just trying to give ideas for it, as being proficient. So that's your next layer. Before the chief of training sees everybody, the captain should be signing off his crew, and the battalion chief should be signing off their captains/crew. Because if an engineer has an issue, it's the captain's problem, not the battalion chief's. And if the captain can't fix it, then it goes to the battalion chief. So now we have 2 layers of accountability with it. And the next step is going to be the division chief's accountability in this system. So where they come in, they need to drill the crews with their station captain quarterly. Once again, they have to be present, because that's something that always gets me is let the crews drill together, because that's who's going to be performing the skills together on scene of emergency. So drill the station captain quarterly with their crews. They already gave the plan out. Utilize the battalion chief, and we don't have our FTOs, field training officers, are actually called field training coordinator. So there's 1 fire per shift and 1 medical per shift. And I even told them, you can take the same system I'm bringing you and use it for the medical side. but I was focusing on the fire side. And if you know me well enough, you know why. So utilize the battalion chief and the FTC that as your helpers with this. So now you have 3 people help them put on the drill if you need more or whatever. But so options, you can focus on just the captains and whoever crew is present that day, or you can focus on everybody. Because we have a bad habit of doing a drill and it's only 3 days long. Well, we have Kelly days. So the division chief told us, he's like, hey, how come you're always off on my drills? I go, stop having it on my shift on Wednesdays. I go, that's my Kelly day. If you want me to come in, throw me some overtime or something, but I like being home too. So what we saw with our size department typically takes 2 months if something's a mandatory drill with everything else that goes on. So that's why I give them the option of, if that's too much or you don't like that because of your workload, then just make sure that when you drill station 3, I'm there that day, and whoever my crew is my crew. And if we show up and we don't produce, then you go, hey, battalion chief, you said the captain was good to go. What happened? Or maybe I got crew members from other stations. Hey, where did this come in? Because they should have been signed off by a company officer, and the company officer should have been signed off by a battalion. So there's a high probability 2 people saw you do a skill before you got signed off. And, this shows, hey, what's the follow-up plan then? Let's get him proficient, so it's a test. So those are his options. He was already liking it. And I think even before I got to here, actually, no, this is the part where he's like, let's do it. And I was like, hang on a second. I go, I'm not done with my presentation. I go, because he started asking me other questions. I go, I'm going to answer all those questions. You just got to give me time, because I thought of what he might ask ahead of time. And so he started asking me a lot of questions. I go, just hang tight and let's keep going. So now that we define like what the system is going to be, here are our next steps for it. Told him that the first and foremost, the training manual must be complete. I said, I'm going to have that training manual done by December of 2018, because you got to put dates with stuff, guys. If you don't put dates, it's not going to get done. And I'm actually going to be done in October. It's going to be a rough draft, so it's going to need some tweaking. So it'll definitely be done before December, but the rough draft's going to actually be done in a couple of weeks. Complete the skill sheets. Another company officer is working on these skill sheets. I said they'll be done by 2018, December. If we only have 12, then we'll go for it. If we got 24, even better. But so I said to create a captain and BC target assignment. I said I can do that if he wants. These are assignments that he just has to assign, and it delivers the skill sheets. And we have to code it or make it. I don't know, because I actually made some assignments and I didn't do a couple of things right, so I actually wasn't recording training. But the whole point is to make it so that only a captain or a battalion chief can make the disappear, so you have some type of tracking system built in. I said after that, then we assign the captains a skill sheet to cover monthly. We can do 1, 2, depending on what we see fit with it, but at least 1. And then assign the battalion chief drill to give them like 2 months to be able to get all the company officers done and figure out that system for it. And then the last step is they're going to be the division chief. And it set up a quarterly drill that encompasses all the recent skill sheets into like one drill. So I told him he can utilize a training field or get an acquired structure. My cities, we've got over like 100 vacant buildings right now. And, there's nothing better to me than actually getting in these buildings and moving some hose, throwing some ladders. And if we can burn them, awesome. But because of the year that they were built, we run into a lot of asbestos issues, or they're so beat up that burning them is just not an option. So I also brought up to him, I said, when we do these drills, just do 1 to 2 crews a day, because there's times we try to do drills and we get everybody done in 1 day. And meanwhile, he doesn't understand, by moving all these companies around, they've got to move the other companies to cover. So it just creates a big mess that day, and nothing else can get accomplished when crews are constantly moving and not at their station to get done what needs to get done. So I said, just keep it simple. Do 1 to 2 crews a day, and just know it's gonna take some time, because people are off for vacation, and it's scheduled ahead of time. Yeah, you're gonna have those caveats where people call in sick, but if you set yourself up that just an hour or 2 a day, you'll be able to get those people in. So just do 1 to 2 crews a day. Plan on, I said, if he's just worried about the captains, so he had to worry about 7 people per shift to make sure they're there with whoever crew they have. Then I said, you might be able to do it in 10 days, which would be 2 weeks, because they work Monday through Friday. And I said, but if you want to make sure everybody on this department goes through whatever the drill you have, so that means, hey, you might have to do it a few times because a guy was on vacation for a couple of weeks, then it's probably going to take 2 months. So I want to give them the expectations of how long this could take and how short it could take to be a good system for it. So conclusion, final thoughts with it. I said, this is a system designed to hit skills up to 3 times. Minimally, each person will do it once, depending on how, swaps happen or vacation, whatever. It's a start on a better path. It's not the end all be all, but it's going to evolve over time, and we're going to make the manual better. We're going to make the skill sheets better. It'll build up to be better, and we need to just focus on the basics until they become advanced. And the future I want for it is, once we actually keep doing these drills, that we will add video of people actually doing the skills or the drills in the future. So this way, when you get the assignment, you can actually look on there. Oh, just try to play it on my phone to see if there's any comments. But in the future, you can actually see the videos, and you'll know, hey, this is how we demonstrate. Because I learn best. I don't know how you guys are, but I learn best with having video as an aid to it. So I'm actually going to try to see if you guys got any questions while we're on this call for it. This is a new setup I'm using. I do these Zoom calls for people at the squad house. But it doesn't look like too many questions with it. So I hope you guys got something out of this. So I was really excited because, like I told you, I wasn't even done with the presentation the chief brought on, and maybe you're having some similar struggles. And if you read some of the book or you listen to kind of what I'm saying, is if someone says no, it's how you're presenting something. So go back, regroup, and flank them, right? I came back because right when he got promoted, I brought up basically the same idea because at the time I thought I was going to be able to interview for that position, but I didn't meet the education requirements. And this is what I was going to put into play. And this time I sold it like this, as in presentation. And, some of the stuff is already in the works, and he's on board, and he's ready to go. So that's awesome. And, I got support of another captain working on this, and I'm sure some more people will jump in. But at the end, man, it's all how you will present some stuff. So if someone gives you a no, it just means just not right now. All right. Regroup, figure out a better way, sell it better. This is basically sales. I was just trying to sell them on the idea of it. So otherwise, that's all I got for you guys. So hope you got something out of it, and I will talk to you guys later.